And the craziest thing is, dude, the craziest thing to me is that white people, rich, white, 20-something-year-olds, are flying around the country to go to black communities to burn them to the ground. What the fuck?
Hans, are we the baddies?
There's just this question that I have been asking myself for a couple of months now. Is like, why do black people like celebrate criminals so much? Like, why is being a criminal such a cool thing in black culture? You know what I mean? Pretty much all rappers, to be a rapper, you pretty much had to have fucking done some major crime at some point or another, right? So, all rappers are kind of criminals in one way or another, convicted or otherwise. And then, but like, right now, George Floyd. Now, he passed off a $20 bill that was fake. You know, was there a crime there? Yeah, but I don't know if I would exactly call him a criminal for it. Who knows where the fuck he got that $20 bill? He could have gotten that from somebody else. Passed it off to him as a fake. I don't fucking know. There's no reason to believe that it was his forgery, right? And apparently he had drugs on him. Dude, I'm pretty libertarian about all that shit. Hey, if you want to fucking ruin your life, pumping drugs into you, God bless. Don't hurt anybody else. But he was behind the wheel of the car. So it is kind of like, he was possibly going to hurt somebody else. I don't know. But that isn't a crime that we execute people for. Like, we don't kill people for sitting behind the wheel of a car that's not moving on drugs. You generally have to kill somebody behind the wheel of a car on drugs before we're going to decide to throw the death penalty at you. You know? And there has to be an investigation. Shit needs to be, you know, there's a whole process that goes along with it. But he did fight with the cops. He did resist arrest. That whole thing. But we don't execute people for that. That isn't a crime punishable by death. So I understand that there was a big wrong there. And honestly, I honestly think that was a crime that very much could have been prevented. I watched the body cam. I did a whole video about it that honestly I don't even fucking know if I really want to put out, because I just don't know about it. Like, after I made it, I was like, I don't know about that. And that's the reason why I haven't even posted it, because I just don't know. But, like, it certainly was, I think, preventable. I think things could have been done differently, and a happier outcome could have been had. So, you know, if people want to protest over that, I think that's perfectly fine. But riot over that? I mean, that's not really enough to riot over, because it's sketchy. You know, that's really sketchy in there. It's not really a pure situation. You know, it's not a 2-year-old sitting in their high seat at like a family picnic in the middle of the park, and just a stray bullet fucking kills it. You know, that's a pretty pure fucking holy shit what just happened there. If we don't get some sort of justice out of this, something's got to burn. Right? Like, personally, that's one of those things where I hear that story and I go, they had better catch that motherfucker. And if they don't catch that motherfucker, that is a goddamn travesty of just universal proportions. Like, somewhere, some sort of something should fuck that guy in the ass. If it's not karma, then goddamn, better be the police. You know, something better fucking happen bad to that guy. But, you know, George Floyd just didn't have that purity of situation. You know, because, you know, there's a lot of fucking crime going on right there. Resisting arrest. It's not something we kill somebody for, but nevertheless, it's on video. It doesn't take a lot to convict the guy. It's a crime. You know, like, he wasn't officially convicted, but it's a crime. Like, if I'm watching a crime happen, I understand what's happening. If I see a bunch of 11-year-olds rubbing themselves and simulating sex acts with each other, I know a crime has been committed somewhere along the way. Anyways. So, then we move on to the next one, Jacob Blake. Now this dude, he wasn't a convicted rapist and domestic abuser, but he was a suspected rapist and domestic abuser. And considering that he was back at the lady's house that he supposedly abused and raped, he was back at her place when she called the police and said, fucking, this guy's in my place and he won't leave, he's got my keys. This is what I'm hearing reported. Because nobody really gives a shit about talking about anything other than he was shot in the back. So it's very sketchy to get your information about this shit, so I pick it up where I can. From what I understand, he was back in her place. So that kind of, I mean, I don't know. Hey, I'm just a person in the world. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a defense attorney. I'm not a judge. I've never been on a jury. I'm not a I don't know. But you put that series of circumstances in front of me. I mean, that's not a tough puzzle to solve. You know what I mean? And then this dude, I mean, this dude really did fucking fight with the cops. Like, he legit tussled with the police. They had to try and tase him multiple times. And then he went for a knife. Where he'd kick up riots over this dude? I mean, that doesn't even have the purity of George Floyd. George Floyd is not exactly all that pure. I mean, it's certainly no 6-year-old who's just asleep in their bed one night and a bullet comes through the window and fucking kills him. You know, it's certainly not that. Like, both of those other ones, I don't even hear about it on the goddamn news anymore. Like, they haven't even bothered to update whether or not these motherfuckers were ever caught. Don't know. Because that was just, oh, this happened. Like, it really makes you wonder which lives really matter. Because if black lives matter, then one would think that black lives mattered. Kind of all of them. But the only ones I ever seem to hear about these days are criminals. There's a dude that got a spit mask put on. I don't know if you know what a spit mask is. They don't put a spit mask on you unless you're spitting on them. You start spitting on them, then the spit mask comes out. I've even seen times where they've said, if you do that again, I'm going to put a mask on you. And they're uncomfortable and they suck and you don't want one. And I've seen people go, alright, I'm sorry. And not do it again. And I've seen people go, really? And then the mask comes out. And they go, oh, come on, really? And then the fucking mask goes over. And it's like, yeah, really? You spit on me. I'm not going to just let you do that. I've got this funny little mask that I can put on your head. Right? They don't just throw one of those things on your head for no fucking reason. And like, and that's like kind of assault. Like, if you spit on somebody, it's kind of assault. Especially if you spit on somebody during COVID. It's kind of assault. So, like, I'm seeing a whole lot of cases that people are literally fucking rioting over. And I'm going, every single one of those people should be alive right now. If only they weren't fucking stupid. Lancaster now must burn. Why? Because a dude ran out of a house with a knife, yelling and screaming and running after a cop who ran away from him until the dude just got a little too close for comfort and the cop said, fuck this, and turned around and shot him. And Lancaster is now rioting over this. That doesn't even have the purity of Jacob Blake. And Jacob Blake is as pure as water that's been pissed in. So, what, why is it? It's, you know, it's not the dad of the little fucking 4 or 6 year old, whatever, however old that little kid was, who's holding her hand as they're just walking across the street. And he gets fucking gunned down for no reason, while still holding his daughter's hand. Broad daylight, he just shot, and the dude just drives up and fucking shoots him. He died holding his little girl's fucking hand in the middle of the street. That's some shit to get pissed about and riot over. But this asshole came running out of a house with a knife in his hand screaming, I'm gonna kill you, and the fucking cop ran away from him. I said, what the fuck am I running for? He shot his ass. Yeah. And the craziest thing is, dude, the craziest thing to me is that white people, rich, white, 20-something-year-olds, are flying around the country to go to black communities to burn them to the ground. What the fuck? You know, at just about any other time in the last, God, I want to say 50 some odd years, any other time, if there would have been stories on the news of a bunch of wealthy white kids flying around the country to black communities only to burn them to the ground, there would be a fucking outrage like you wouldn't believe. There's no fucking man, people's fucking heads would explode. But it's happening right now. Rich white kids who aren't employed, they're living off mommy and daddy, they are flying around the country to black communities so that they can burn them to the ground. Dude, you want to know the best trick the KKK ever pulled? They convinced you they didn't exist anymore. When really what they did was they just changed their name to Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Seriously. A bunch of rich white kids are now flying around the country and burning down black communities. Is that nobody else? That shit has not occurred to anybody else. Like, I'm seeing all of these videos now of how all these people that are getting picked up by the feds, they're now not only white, not from the area that they were rioting in, but rich. They're from rich families. Rich white people are flying around the country to go to black communities and burn them down. And nobody's fucking... But I'm the racist one. I'm the racist one. Because I think there's a problem with all of these riots. And I think sometimes criminals get shot when they fight with the cops. Right? If you were to tell me all of the stories of all the unarmed white people that fought with cops and got shot, I'd go, well, they could have survived if only they wouldn't have fought with cops. That's kind of universally been my opinion about people that fight with the cops. Hey, you're running the risk of getting shot, motherfucker. Don't fight with the cops. I've never fought with a cop. I've only ever had one bad interaction with a cop, and I'll tell you what it was again. I was sitting at a fucking red light at one of those big, huge intersections. It's like 50 fucking intersections, giant middle, right? Sitting at the red light, it's like 3 in the morning, something like that. Like, I'm driving home from dropping somebody else off from the bar, and I'd only had 1 beer, so I stone cold sober. I came to pick a buddy of mine up, drive his ass home because he was drunk. I wasn't even going out drinking that night. I had a beer because I was waiting for him to get done saying goodbye to everybody. You know how that goes with drunk people. Took him fucking home. And I'm sitting there at a red light. And Train You by Nirvana comes on. I don't know if you know that song, but there's like one lyric, and then it fucking hits in really hard. And I love that song for that reason. Light turns green as the fucking... And my foot went through the fucking floor. And I was going at least 50 when I cleared that intersection. And I was going at least 65 when I saw the cop coming the other way. And so, like, I didn't wait for him to come chasing after me with the lights on. I just fucking pulled off, hit my fucking hazards, turned off the car, threw the keys on the dashboard, got my wallet out, got my driver's license and everything out, and I'm just sitting there like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, god damn it. So a guy comes up to my car, wicked fucking pissed. Hand on pistol, pistol unlatched. Screaming at me. Do you know how fast you were fucking going through that intersection? And I said, like 70? And he went, I easily could have clocked you at 90. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I saw you go through that light clocking at least 90 miles an hour. And I said, ah! I said, sir, I said, first of all, I was stopped at the light. You know, whatever you want to do about this from here, but I was stopped at the light. I was driving a Firebird at the time. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to come down that steep of a hill and go through that intersection 90 and I'm still going to have a chassis on this vehicle. I'm like, I'm 6 inches off the ground, man. Like, I'm like, so first of all, I was stopped at the light. Second of all, when I saw you, I looked down, I was going 65. I'm willing to be generous and give you 70 just because I can see you're pissed at me. So, but if you come back to me with a ticket for more than 70 miles an hour, you will see me again in court. So there's no fucking way I'm not showing up to fight that in court. So you better be there to he said, she said with me over it. Or to bring whatever camera footage you could bring from the surrounding area. But I'm guaranteeing you, if you give me not only a running the light ticket, but going 90 miles an hour, oh, I will be fighting that with every ounce of my being. And I said, here's my license and my insurance card. And he snatched that shit up and fucking walked back to his car. And he had me there for about an hour and a half. Like, I'm just sitting there, like, oh my God, like, he had me there forever. And then he comes back up and hands me my license, my insurance card, and a ticket, and then just walked away. And I looked at the ticket, and the ticket said 70 miles an hour. And I was like, fair enough. And started my car very nicely, and I allowed him to follow me the entirety of the way home, and I went the speed limit and followed every single traffic law to the letter the entire fucking way. Because that dude fucking wanted my ass so bad. That's the worst thing I've ever had happen to me as far as interactions with the police. Normally, I see the lights and I go, shit. I pull over, keys go on the dashboard. I try and get my wallet out of my pocket at the very least, and I sit my fucking hands on the dashboard as I'm fucking around trying to get everything out of the wallet. And the wallet goes on the dashboard. I wait. Cop comes up. Window is already down. Hey, you understand why I stopped you today? Probably because I was speeding, sir. Yep, you were speeding. Yeah. that was always my big problem, speeding. And, you know, and or else I'd go, no, I have no clue. And then I would get one of your rear lights is out, and I'd go, shit, which one? Can you tell me which one? And they tell me which one generally, and then I don't make them wait. I don't fuck around. I don't ask questions. Disrespect. I never. Hi, officer. Sorry. Dude, I turn into a bitch like that, man. Oh, officer. You know, man, fucking, I will bat my eyes at a fucking cop in a second if I think it'll get me out of some shit. Nothing but respect. That's fucking the name of the game, man. It's fucking don't fight the cops like that. A buddy, like, the worst interaction I ever saw somebody else go through, man, actually would have been that. Fuck, I was riding with a dude from the bar. I was taking him home. I was always taking people home from the bar. And I was riding with this dude, and cops light goes on, and I'm like, God damn it. And he goes, don't stop. And I'm like, what? And he goes, don't stop, just take me home. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. And so I stopped, because I'm like, there's no fucking way. He's like, dude, I got a warrant. And I'm like, wow, that sucks to be you. I'm not getting my own warrant by running from the cops for you. There's no fucking way. It's like, I guess it's time for you to deal with fucking what you did. Or whatever. And he's like, and I'm like, dude, hey, you picked the wrong fucking person to take you home then, buddy. And the cop comes up, and I give him my license and my shit. And he tells me what the hell he pulled me over for. And then they asked for his license. And they looked at his license. And then all of a sudden, they forgot all about me. And my little fucking maybe you're swerving thing. Don't care about that shit anymore. You got a warrant. And I watched them pull him out of the... They opened the door for him. My car door for him. And said, sir, would you like to step out of the car? And he said, not really. And they said, is this going to be a problem? And he said, no. And I said, dude, I looked at him and went, dude. And he said, no. And he got out peacefully enough. And they searched him. You got anything in your pockets? Yeah. Nothing that's going to stick your stab you or whatever. You know, the whole thing. I watched him take everything out of his pockets and put it into his hat. I watched them cuff him. I watched them put him in the back of the cruiser. I even watched them fucking take all his shit and get the dude put it in the front. And I'm like, man, you take that shit with you? And he's like, yeah, I got to turn it all in. And I'm like, God damn. And they told me to stay in the car, which I 10 and 2 the whole fucking time. Hail Hydra. You know, and fucking then at one point they come over to me and they're like, would you like to get out of the car? And I'm like, oh, am I in trouble too? And they're like, no. He needs you to call his mom He needs to give you the number. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I got out and went over, and there he is. Sitting in the fucking back. And he gave me his mom's number, and I called her and said, you know, this is what's going on with your son. And I gave him the phone. They let me give him the phone, and he talked to his mom. And she went down and bailed him out. She went down and bailed him out, and there was like a court thing that happened. This is the craziest fucking story in the world. There was like a court thing that happened, and because the circumstances around it were not lawful at the time, like it was one of those, he was a kid, and they picked up a whole bunch of kids and kind of charged them all with the same fucking thing, and he just skipped on it. That's really what it was. He wasn't doing anything, so he figured instead of going and pleading my case, I'll just say, well, they fucked up, fuck them, I just won't go. So he went and actually had to go through and plead his case from back then, and they said, well, if you would have fucking just come to us and said this is what happened, we would have just said, oh, and let you go. But you didn't do that, and then you had to get arrested and all that shit. So what they did was, they refunded him his bail that he shouldn't have had to pay, and they didn't make him pay court fees, and I think they actually paid him like a couple $100 for the inconvenience. How fucking stupid is all of that? You know what I mean? Like, what in the fuck? You know, like, how the fuck that happened? I don't understand. But I saw what happens when you don't fight the cops and you got a problem. If you really didn't do it, you just go and say, I really didn't do it. And they go, oh. And they investigate and go, yeah, you didn't do it. And then, there you go. I was kind of wicked pissed when he told me the story. I'm like, they fucking paid you for the inconvenience? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'd have kept you in jail for the weekend for the stupidity. Like, I would have said, no, you can't post bail because he's a moron. He should have just came and cleared his name fucking years ago. And he's like, yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking too. And I'm like, oh my god, what a stupid lesson that you didn't fucking learn anything from. And he's like, so, yeah, I don't know. But what I do know is this, don't fight the fucking cops. And it's so weird that we're rioting over criminals. Like, and it's so weird that nobody has caught on yet that there's a bunch of white rich kids that are flying around the country burning down black communities. And just nobody's fucking got onto this shit at all yet. So